they are quite extraordinary. So it is worth just having a little bit of a stretch before you do these, because you do find this. The thing is, you're not doing the same things that you do in Morris. You're doing slightly different things, and so you know your muscles are just doing something different. So just stretch a bit if you that makes sense for you, and loosen up a bit. As Andy pointed out, was nobody knows what it is. It's a set of tunes and a set of there's a set of tunes and a set of dances. There's more tunes than dances, but we've got the exact tune for an exact dance, and it's got terms in it which you don't find in the other dance manuscripts of the period. So people have tried to interpret it in the main dance style of the period, which is Italian Renaissance. And in Italian Renaissance dance, they've got all these, they've nailed it down, they've got it all sorts. So if you ever see early dance out anywhere, reenactment or whatever, they're nearly all doing Italian Renaissance. And as a result, everybody tries to interpret anything new in terms of Italian Renaissance. But this doesn't fit that mold. People have done translations of the Gresley steps into Italian Renaissance steps, and they've made some kind of sense of it. What we've just done is we looked at the Gresley steps and taken our interpretation of what they seem to say they are, without trying to refer them to the Italian Renaissance dance. So, you'll be pleased to know though, the first bit appears all over the place and is the double trace. And the double trace is really a double step. So you've got, it's an open, as far as we can tell, it makes sense to me of being an open double step. So let's just go around the room. Have you got some double trace music?
Apologies, I haven't had time to prepare any of this music, so I'm trying to remember it from 2003.
Or from 1510, whichever. So we're going to just go around the room. Here we go. Right, use your arms. Push it out. Try and get some of that gesture in. Some of the quite low gestures. And stop. Right. Good. What's all this? Now, if you play a little bit again there, Andy, just listen to the tune. It's got an interesting element to it.
The tune might be awesome.
It's just that first level trace as you're playing it. When he plays it might be different. Just a double trace tune. Just a double trace. You wrap your heels 5 times. Okay. So we'll double trace again, but at the end of each phrase, when we get that beat on the drum, we'll just hold a pose, a gesture. We just call it gesture, and do you think? I'm just making it up. There's gestures. They're doing all those things in the iconography. You know, it's just something that, as Roy said, you know, there's 4 different parts to the dance, and they all were doing something different. What we do find in the history about dance and drama of that period there are actually pages of books with pages of gestures. So you have specific gestures. Some of them are hand gestures, arm gestures, often quite symbolic. And you can see them in some of the iconography. Yeah, that's right. You see some of these gestures actually in there. So we did go through a period of actually trying to work out some of them are very obvious, some of them are less so. But at the time we were doing this, I was visiting Ponte Capraro quite often in Italy, where they have a dance tradition which they claim goes back to Venetian Renaissance. And their dances, they were similar a few years. They had these white masks with black masks painted on them, Italian, and they do long ways set dances. And their hands are doing the most amazing things, and they're full of exactly the same gestures that you find described in early English and European text on dramas, things like that. And they're even using the same ones in the same way. And some of them will continue today, some of the same gestures you find people using today. You know, that's quite a common one in there. Oh, God, yeah. That's one in Europe. So you find that one. So we've got double trace, a step on the heels, rap 5 times, holding a gesture, okay? And try and make the gestures and go down and up. If you remember those carvings from Munich and from Innsbruck, they're quite wild gestures. And then you look at it, yeah, exactly, brilliant sunshine. And also Abington. Double trace, and whichever one you like. Start with counterintuitive because you're so used to doing things in 2/4. But actually, we found that fitted really well. Throughout the Presley tunes, that 5 fits very well. And you know, I've really enjoyed playing it since Andy sort of came up with this thing about using the drum beat to go on that. They all have Presley tunes all have a familiar cadence at the end, and of parts of the tune. Da 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 dum. You know, a lot of them have that little cadence. Da 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 dum. Just works, you know, lovely. Right. Now, this dance, Libens Distonis, is a dance for 4 people, and it's a grappling dance, and there's this section where you're actually working, as it says, at each other. And we dance in 4 in this first case, going round and dance 2 against 2, then change it 2 against 2 in another direction. We might be able to do it in 2s. Let me just have a look at manuscript over here.
Pick a little one, it's easier. The modern version.
Right. And so, need a bit of space. Need a bit of space. Right. So,
I'll take your glasses off.
There are different formats for this. We just repeated the number of times it's said in Dresden, which meant that we were at each other in different ways. So what we'll do for the first one is, which has, first one push back, and the second time through is grapple and turn. And we did a lot of research on grappling holds. If I could borrow you, we had these grappling holds where you put one hand on there like that, and then you would go on the inside of the side, so you go on that arm like that. So there are a lot of grappling holds written down in martial texts of the period. So you can dance, push against her. We quickly realised that the only way to make this look effective was you really had to do it for real. Yes. So you had to push. You had to try and push your opposite number back into the place where they came from. Okay? Then you had, once we realised that, then you had actually the tension in the dance, because you're leaning forward, you've got your feet going up, you're really going for it, you're actually dancing in time with music, so you force against force. It's really very powerful. We've got two figures. In fact, we call it, we can make two lines. Two lines. Let's do two lines. Two lines. Let's do lines. So find a partner. And go straight up on the guitar. You want to come here then? Right. So try the hold first of all. Okay, now in the manuscript you've got single steps in, and we continued with, and then it's got the push back and single, single, single. You've got three single steps in, you've got the push back, and then three single steps retreat.
It's all single steps.
So this is single steps. You've got double steps on the trace, single steps in. So you've got music, and music, you've got to go at each other. So you've got three single steps in, you've got a time when you're against each other, and then you push back, and you've got three single steps back. This is just single steps, Should we just do a little demonstration? We'll do it first. We'll do it first. So give that a try. So you've got three steps lining up and then collision, and you'll hear the music tell you what to do. There's a push back. I'll give you a shout for the push back. Coming with the feet. Wait for it. I was just telling you.
What you have to get used to the fact that I will be tapering those steps.
So
you don't hear me go.
So listen for that. We'll come in with others, okay?
We're in a bit early.
Yeah, good, but then you're too late, you won't go.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, grapple! And again. 1, 2, 3, grapple! Right, so that was, there's a very definite push in it. It tells you when to do it. It's really quite interesting within the music. You know, in a way, yeah, that's a good way of defeating it. That artist is like in a way, we wish we started with this dance. We started with another one called Kennet Morris, which turned out to be the hardest dance of the lot. Right? But it had the most interesting steps and things in it. This one is altogether much simpler. There's really only 3 parts to it, 4 parts. That's the pushback. The next one is the grapple torn. Should we try that again?
Okay.
So this time you come forward, and I'm not going to do it, and then you've got that hole there, and twist. Right. It tells you when you turn, and when you turn, you'll both know you're going through that thing. The turn happens really quickly, okay? Because you're both going around that edge. We just try and do it again. We'll try and call it. Good. So it tells you that there's a da dum. That's the note when you turn da da dum da dum. Da-dum, da-dum, push away. Okay. Bit forward, very well. You ready? Bring it up with that. Turn! Push! I don't know whether anybody noticed it on that turn. It just throws you around, and the music is critical to tell you when to do that. Exactly, it tells you when to push as well. The music is really strong for this. So in the manuscript, it's got what was the first one, push back, and the second one was grapple turn. And the description of the single steps in, the grapple turn, and then the single steps out. And the music's telling you all the time exactly what to do. It's, you know, so how we've interpreted it feels good. We don't know whether it's right, but it just feels good. And we're doing the things which it says we're doing. But whether our interpretation of that is what was really meant to be there, we don't know. But it works for us. Right. The other part of this is using double trace again, and if we use these 4. And the double trace is, if you make yourself into a square, is you go round in a circle clockwise, go round in a circle.
We go.
Double steps. And then keep going. And heel, then turn it back. That's it, stop there. It's just one round, so you go la da. Back to base. Okay? And what we did to make it interesting, because it doesn't tell you any more than that, it just tells you how many times it's repeated, is that instead of going across that way, you could do that way, so you could do diagonal. So we just devised it so the first time you go that way, and you do push back, and then you do the thing, then you do it across, you do push back, and then the third time you do it, take turns to do it on the diagonal with a...
Oh, so we change parts, as it were.
So, yeah, so you change over. So, and there's a double trace on, and it finishes with, it just says rounds.
Might again, please.
Yeah. And then that's it. Rounds, tret and retret and turn. So they've got these turns in it. That's right. The actual words of the dance thing for that pushback is after the end of the trace, the first 3/4, 3 single fourth, and torn, whilst the second retret 3 back. And we would, our first interpretation of that was actually that it would be 2 different pairs of people. Then come together and either turn into other's place, it says. So either, meaning both in this case, turn. And then the second time through, they come together in such ways as they did before and either end in their own place. So each ends in his own place. And then finish with tret and retret and turn, which we had a forward and back, which we used as a repeat feature. Do you want to try it this fall?
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Come here. Yeah. I'll give you a simplified version of it. So do the push back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You back.
Do the normal push back.
You cut it from over there, with a double trace into the circle, and you can start with push back with a partners, and then turn with partners. Then do a circle, and back. So one double trace round, turn, one double trace back, and then it will be on this side. Do it all again that way, and then I think you can do double trace. Round, and back, and then swap partners, and push back, turn, and then the circle music again. No, circle finish, with spectacular gestures. I believe.
Right, that's spectacular.
Spectacular. So we're coming in. Come in. In whatever order you want to.
We might be able to do it.
We're going to have a lady dance.
Yeah, with a rose.
Of course we are. No, we're not. Just attacking. You attack. Yeah, I don't think I've got that.
No favouritism. No favouritism.
Your challenge is to impress the lady.
Oh, yeah. She's got the
So when you finish on the round back, you need to be round. No, I want you to do your gesture in her direction. Yeah. What are you starting on, Squire? Oh, right.
I should start. I will start left.
Yeah, watch this out.